In 1986, the Army adopted a style that requires writers to use active voice whenever possible. In this video, I will explain what this means and why it makes sense. When we talk about voice, we are talking about how the verb affects the subject of a sentence. The verb indicates whether its subject acts, active voice, or is acted upon, passive voice. Why should we care about voice? Active voice makes your writing more natural, more vivid, and more specific, giving your writing greater credibility and impact. Let's do a quick review of terms. A verb is a word which describes an action, doing something, or a state, being something. Verbs can take different forms to express past and future. For example, Joe shoots elk is present tense, and he shot elk is past tense. The subject is the person or thing that is doing the action. It will always be a noun or noun phrase, person, place, animal, or thing. The object is the noun that receives the action. To determine voice, see whether the subject is actively performing or doing the verb. In active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action of the verb. Joe shoots elk. This is active voice. Joe is the subject, the one performing the action. Elk is the object of the action. The person or thing doing the action appears before the verb in active voice. This is very simple, and it is the most important tip. Do this and you will be fine. Readers generally prefer active over passive voice because it is more direct, easier to understand, and results in shorter sentences. In passive voice, the subject is acted upon, which is why it is called passive. It can be awkward, as in this example. Elk were shot by Joe, passive in past tense. Elk are shot by Joe, passive in present tense. The target or object of the action, elk, has been promoted to subject, but this subject is not acting. It is being acted upon. It sounds a little strange. A clue to passive voice is that you will often see by in the sentence. An interesting test for passive voice is to see if you can insert the phrase by zombies after the verb. If it makes sense, you have most likely written a sentence in passive voice. But not every by indicates passive voice. Example, they must be finished by noon. Active, because noon is not doing the finishing, and noon is not doing anything to they. And you can't say, they must be finished by zombies. When we talk about voice, after identifying the verb, we are looking at who or what is doing the action. Passive voice is grammatically correct, but is usually less clear, as you can see in the following sentences. Active voice. Notice the sentence order. Subject, verb, object. Subject before the verb. The firefighters fought the fire. In the passive voice, the object becomes the subject. The verb changes, and the subject becomes the object. The fire was fought by the firefighters. I have underlined the subject and verb to help you see the logic of using active voice. The fire isn't doing anything. It is passively receiving the action of the firefighters. You probably see now why you should use passive voice sparingly, but occasionally you might decide it is the best choice for the meaning you want to convey. For example, it is useful when you are not sure who or what did the action, as in, the car was stolen. The action is important and not who did it, as in, he was convicted. You don't want to say who or what did the action, as in, the application was submitted late. With these examples, you don't have an object, so let's try the by zombies test. The car was stolen by zombies. He was convicted by zombies. The application was submitted late by zombies. See? It works. Passive voice is non-committal. We don't know as much information as we would if the writer made the effort to find an interesting active verb. Joe dropped the glass. This is active voice. The glass was dropped by Joe. This is passive voice that has the by indicator, like the by zombies test. Passive voice sometimes leaves the real actor of the sentence out altogether. Joe might even tell you, the glass was dropped. This helps Joe avoid taking responsibility, and you can see how this leaves out some important information. If you write your papers with lots of passive voice, they risk becoming wordy, less clear, less confident, and less interesting. Here is another example. He lost money playing poker. Money was lost playing poker. The second version sounds strange and even a little suspicious. Now you can see how active and passive voice differ, how much clearer active voice is, and I've shown you the rare occasions when passive voice might be the voice of choice. Just remember, as a leader in the Army, you write first to communicate. As the 1986 DA pamphlet 600-67 sums up, good Army writing is clear, concise, organized, and right to the point. To this end, wherever possible, use active voice. See you next time.